All right, next I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Jim Reagor. He's the Director of Perfusion at Cincinnati Children's. I asked him for a bio and he told me that he wasn't going to give it to me, so I'll just tell you. He's been such an integral part of our societies and our professions. He's a former AMSEC president. He's extremely involved at every level, and he's also the co-executive director of Peter Perform, which is a database sharing project that is very interesting, especially to me, and I'm looking forward to him talking to us today about magnesium and Del Nido.
Thank you. Again, thanks to Richard and the program committee for having me. She called me sir. I didn't realize I'd been knighted. That's kind of cool. I don't have any disclosures, but if anybody's interested, I can be bought. So, so to get right into it, most of us in the pediatric community, and now more so in the adult world, have heard of Del Nido cardioplegia. We've seen some presentations on it today, but even it's caught on quite a bit in the adult world, and I think Dr. Baker indicated there's some data out there that maybe we should be taking a closer look at that. But certainly within the pediatric realm, it's something that we use every day. For the most part, I feel like it's been one of the really amazing advances in cardioplegia in a while, although it's been around for a long time, but it's caught on recently within the past 10 or 15 years. But to kind of lead into the study that we did, we put out a survey in 2017 to the National Pediatric Cardiology Quality Improvement Collaborative, and it's NPC-QIC. It's one of the registries with the most initials, and it looks primarily at patients with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, or only at patients with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And we asked a whole lot of different questions in that survey, but one of them was, of course, what cardioplegia do you use? And as you can see here, about 80% of the respondents, there was 60 institutions participating in NPC-QIC at the time, and we had about 39 respondents to the survey, so a decent number of institutions, but really only about, I guess, a quarter of the total number of pediatric institutions in the nation. But we asked the question, what cardioplegia you use, and there's a smattering of others there, custodial, modified Buckberg, others, and but the predominant use, of course, was Del Nido. So just as a little catch up for those of you that don't use it or haven't heard about it, what is Del Nido? Why do we call it that? And why should we even be considering it? Dr. Del Nido started out, he was born in Santiago, Chile. He started his training at 15 and finished medical school in 1977. I'm always amazed by people that start out as a teenager. I was nowhere near that smart. When I was in perfusion school, I had and this means nothing to the study, but I just thought of it and I'll tell you anyway, had the opportunity to live in a medical fraternity with a guy that was started med school the same year that I started perfusion school. He was 16. He had a photographic memory. He could, which was really good for him, but bad when we played poker. But the whole thing about it is it's always amazed me that with people that can start out these journeys with a lot of potential and actually achieve what they do achieve, which goes along to primarily benefit the world in a lot of cases. Dr. Del Nido's mother was a veterinarian. His father was a surgeon who unfortunately prematurely died from coronary artery disease. Dr. Del Nido studied myocardial protection at the University of Toronto as a senior research fellow in cardiac surgery, and he was also at the University of Illinois and then the University of Pittsburgh, where he actually received his first NIH grant, which came from his work in myocardial protection. It was also at Pittsburgh where he ultimately developed the Del Nido Cardioplegia solution in the early 90s. And of course, as most of you are really aware, he has many, many accolades, including almost 400 published manuscripts, decades of NIH funding. But one of the things that, I don't know Dr. Del Nido, but I've read quite a bit about him. What I would imagine is one of his most cherished, I guess, honors is really being considered a true surgeon scientist by his peers. It's something that the surgeons that I know, when they're really highly regarded as their peers, that's one of the most important things to them. And this is something that I think a lot of people appreciate about Dr. Del Nido. So I tell you all that just to kind of tell you that, he's got a long history in studying myocardial protection. And if anybody's going to develop a novel, or relatively novel at the time anyway, cardioplegia solution, he's definitely got the credentials to do so. He initially designed the solution really to mitigate the injurious effects of intracellular hypercalcemia, which, as we've come to learn, accompanies reperfusion injury, especially in the immature myocardium in infant patients. So, as the calcium ions are really believed to be one of the most important factors in ischemic reperfusion injury, as it's allowed to accumulate in the myocardium, relaxation of the myocardial cells may be interrupted, and diastolic stiffness would then end up resulting with poor overall recovery of function. So as you can see here, why calcium floating around might be counterproductive to a resting heart. So to describe Del Nido a little bit, the solution in its original formula and delivery, among other things, it's a glucose poor, hyperpolarizing cardioplegia, which is administered in a 1:4 blood to crystalloid solution. So 1 part blood, 4 parts crystalloid. The complete solution consists of 1 liter of plasmolite base. It's got mannitol, magnesium sulfate, sodium bicarb, lidocaine, and of course potassium, just like all the other cardioplegia solutions have, or they don't work. Now, most cardioplegia solutions are delivered in a 4:1 blood to cardioplegia, or even 8:1 blood to crystalloid ratio, which is, of course, the exception of microplegia. And while Del Nido is 1:4, many say that that's a disadvantage, resulting in more hemodilution. However, this really results in less blood removal from your main circuit, which is a big thing within pediatrics, as well as during the administration of the cardioplegia, that crystalloid component can be pretty easily removed. Hemofilters aren't necessarily used on every case in adults a lot of the time, but they are a lot of times in pediatrics, so you have that capability there right away. Since other solutions, though, also require repeated administrations of their cardioplegia every 15 to 20 minutes, you can imagine it doesn't take long for you to actually add up to the amount of crystalloid that you give with that single dose of Del Nido in a lot of cases if you're using another cardioplegia solution. And since Del Nido can provide the myocardial protection for up to 2, even 3 hours sometimes, which makes me a little nervous, but it's still possible. The induction dose a lot of times is really all that's required, even for some of the significantly more complex pediatric repairs that take longer cross-clamp times. Then, of course, with Del Nido, there's all the benefits of the chemical makeup of the solution, as well as that we really won't go into here, with one exception though, and that's magnesium. So kind of going back to that NPC QIC survey that I talked about a couple of minutes ago, that's in that survey we also asked what medications were administered upon or shortly after cross-clamp removal. And of those surveyed, again, about 38 or 39 answered this question. And what we noticed was just over 20% of the centers would give magnesium. Now, the interesting thing is, 80% of Del Nido of the people that responded used Del Nido, 20% gave magnesium. So you might think, well, the folks that give magnesium are the ones that don't use Del Nido, but that's not necessarily the case. And we knew that to be the case because at our institution in particular, we used Del Nido and we gave magnesium. So that kind of led us to think, do you still need the magnesium with Del Nido? Looking back at this is really kind of what sparked an interest in our mind as far as to whether it was still necessary to do that. We gave me cardioplegia for a long time before using Del Nido, and with that me cardioplegia, we would give 25 milligrams of mag sulfate per kilo, up to a total of 1 gram. And we didn't change that practice when we went to Del Nido. So do you still need to do that? Now, of note, with the exception of Buckberg in those solutions shown, all have some sort of magnesium in them in varying levels. So this could apply to other magnesium-containing cardioplegia solutions as well, but all we really looked at was our center and Del Nido. So, as I mentioned, why do we give? We gave magnesium all along in me. It didn't have any magnesium in it, but why give magnesium in the first place? As we probably most of us understand, the body doesn't produce magnesium, yet it's the 4th most common cation in the body and the 2nd most common intracellular cation, following potassium. So, and it's used in nearly all of the systems of the body, involving more than 300 of the body's enzymatic reactions. So it's really a necessary component, just like a lot of the electrolytes are. It's a natural calcium channel blocker, which again, like we talked about, one of the points of Del Nido solution was to reduce the calcium in the cells, and it helps control AV node conduction and in an attempt to improve myocardial recovery. So if MAG levels are low, clinically you're typically asymptomatic until you get below around 1.2 milligrams per deciliter. But in those conditions, muscle contractions or myocardial excitability are possible, and really protecting against torsades is primarily why we would add MAG in the first place, is that's what they taught me in school, which was a long time ago. But if you get too much MAG, is there an issue? So hypermagnesiemia, which is kind of hard for me to say, so I'm just going to say high MAG from now on. But high MAG over 2.6 can cause vasodilation, hypotension, hypoflexia. And when you get over 6, you can end up with rhythm changes. Over 15, which is incredibly high, you can even get cardiac arrest. So it's just as important, and maybe even a little more important, to protect against high magnesium than low. But having it where it ought to be is probably the best thing to do. So kind of to describe our practice a little bit at Cincinnati Children's, and one of the things that possibly impacted our study is we duff continuously. So about within just a few minutes of getting on bypass, we will begin dilutional ultrafiltration with Plasmolite, which has MAG in it, just a little bit. So this, it probably helps us sustain the levels of magnesium with duff more than it adds to or anything like that, but it kind of just helps sustain. But it's still contributing to our practice and magnesium levels in our practice. We'll administer 20 mLs per kilo of cardioplegia, which is kind of the standard dose for induction with a liter max. Sometimes we'll do 10 per kilo if our cross clamp is going to be really short, which we never have really short cross clamps, so we almost never do that. But we also give it, at a standard 4 to 8 degrees Celsius. If we do redose, which is it's not very common that we redose, but like I said earlier, when you get to about 2 hours, that's when I start squirming a little bit, start asking if we can redose. And the surgeon tells you it's only going to be 15 minutes, but in surgeon time, that's really another 45 minutes. So you try to, convince them to give some anyway. But when we do that, it's more of around a 5 to 10 per kilo dose in those times, because we probably aren't going to be on that much longer. Sometimes we'll still do another 20, but that's pretty rare. Again, Del Nido is based in plasmolite, which has mag chloride as well. So, you know, there's already mag in there, plus the mag sulfate that goes into it in the first place. And then, as I mentioned, we will give mag sulfate when the clamp comes off. The 25 milligrams per kilo up to a gram. And we give that after the clamp comes off, usually within just a few minutes. But because we have seen hypotension with it and that kind of thing, we usually kind of wait until things stabilize out when after the clamp comes off. So the question again, do we still need to do that? Dr. Del Nido's AATS presentation that was entitled Technological Innovation in Cardiothoracic Surgery, a Pragmatist Approach. While he wasn't really talking specifically about cardioplegia, but he urged the continual reevaluation and testing really of our most commonly held beliefs both in the clinic and in the laboratory. And he stressed the importance of discarding the theories and the practices that aren't supported by data. So again, we ask, do we still need that magnesium when we take the cross clamp off? So in an attempt to answer that question, we took about 100 patients from January of 2022 till October of 2023, all the way through infants through adults, and who received Del Nido cardioplegia and also received that dose of magnesium. And I'm not going to tell you that sometimes we don't forget to give the magnesium dose. So, you know, sometimes we had to throw those patients out when we would accidentally forget that. But if they got the Del Nido and if they got the mag, which was most of the time, post-cross clamp, we looked at those patients. We measured post-cardioplegia and pre-clamp removal of mag levels. So within 30 minutes of the clamp coming off, but after all doses of cardioplegia were given, we took a sample. And we also looked at the mag levels in an 8 to 12 minute window after the magnesium administration. So clamp comes off, we wait a few minutes, we give the magnesium, we wait another 8 to 12 minutes, and we take another sample. Now, these are our results that draw one. This is the initial magnesium levels before clamp removal, before the additional magnesium. The dotted line here will show you the normal mag levels of 1.6 to 2.6. At least that's what our reference lab has them as at Cincinnati Children's. And there were no measured magnesium levels under 1.6. So nothing was abnormally low. The median mag level for the first draw was 3, and the mean was 3.2. And with most all of these measurements, as you can see on the graph, prior to clamp removal being above the 2.6, above the top end of normal. There was, I think there's 8, maybe 7 measurements there in orange that you can see that fell in the quote unquote normal range, but we're still right there at the top edge of being high. Now looking at draw 2, so this is after the magnesium administration, after 8 to 12 minutes. That 8 to 12 minute window was to make sure that we got it circulated well enough and that we weren't getting a false high. The median level there was 4 and the mean was 4.8, all well above normal. There's one outlier there that has it low. That was probably a case I did, and I probably screwed up that sample. Looking at draw 1 and draw 2 side by side, you can kind of see here again where most of these values are above normal. And you can also see the effect of the magnesium administration. So on the left of the orange, they were draw 1 before mag administration. On the right, the green or light blue are after the magnesium administration. You can see the significant increase, and that increase was statistically significant with a p-value less than 0.001. So we also broke it down by age, which kind of a surrogate for size, because we do max it out at a gram. So, but again, you can see here that it really didn't have an impact on the measured values, showing that almost all of the above normal ranges for infants, children, teenagers, and adults from left to right there, the high levels are still present. in the pre-mag levels, as well as in the post-magnesium administration levels, and they're all still significantly higher in that second group, regardless of age group. Now, just for a few notes on kind of the limitations that we had in this study, we didn't baseline our MAG levels, so we don't really know where the kids were coming in at. As I thought more about it, we probably should have done that, but we didn't. And then again, the things that I mentioned about our practice with Duff and the use of PLA as our base solution and PLA as our priming solution, which may help keep those MAG levels up. And centers which don't Duff or Z-Buff, but do Cuff or maybe don't use Plasmolite or another solution predominantly that does have magnesium in it, may not see as high of magnesium levels either. So this is really one of those studies that really, if you do things the way we do, it might work at your institution, but it really just measures what we do. So with the risks, associated with high magnesium levels being significant, we talked about those a little bit, arrhythmias, respiratory depression, even and vasodilation. We're not sure that really that we need to further increase the magnesium levels just to protect against rare arrhythmias that we don't usually see anyway. If the mags are above normal. So finally, really before I get out of here, I just want to thank my perfusion colleagues, my team members. They participate in every single one of the studies that we do, but they're the unsung heroes because they stay at home and keep pumping cases while I get to come and tell you about the cool stuff. So I want to thank them for doing that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Jim, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. I have one comment and then a question. Start with my question, which is about when you switched over from your knee cardioplegia, did you give lidocaine boluses originally with that cardioplegia?
No. It's incredibly rare that we have to give lidocaine at all, especially with Del Nido, but we really didn't see it with the me solution either. And to be fair, we used that me solution maybe for, it wasn't a very long period of time, a couple of years, 2 years, Rayleigh's saying 2 years. But no, it's rare that we give occasionally.
We never give it. We're always on the other end of things where we've given too much Del Nido because our cross clamps are long, so we have to watch how much we give versus the other. Yeah. I want to open up for other questions, but I just wanted to give this comment, which is that our surgeon, Frank Hanley, went to school with Del Nido. They were in the same class. So for many years, we asked him if he was ready to switch over to giving Del Nido, and he said, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then finally one day he had a really long cross clamp time. He said, okay, we can try that plege, but he won't ever call it by its name.
That's funny you say that because we have a surgeon, we don't even call it Del Nido at our institution. We call it Maglido cardioplegia. Yeah.
Jim, did most of this data collected after 60 minutes or 90 minutes? Was there a time that you looked at maybe after or before the redosing?
No, that's a great question, Kareem. It's a limitation I should probably mention. We did not exclude patients or that had multiple doses of cardioplegia. These were not patients that just got one dose of cardioplegia. So, and I can't tell you, I probably should actually, because I could go back and look in the pump records of the patients we did, but I can't tell you which one, how many of them got more than one dose of cardioplegia.
What is safe? I mean, is it 60 minutes or 90 minutes? I mean,
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no.
I'll refer you to the Boston paper that Greg Maddie wrote about their experience. That's where we got our protocols from. And it's got if you want to use Del Nido cardioplegia, look it up. It's inject. It tells you exactly what to do, the correct dosing. Yeah, it's up there on the screen, I think. It's got, reference number 4 there. It's got the dosing. It's got how long they think it should work. Like I said, we've had a number of surgeons come in who've used it, but didn't wait the 2 hours that we do to get the second dose. They usually want to wait maybe 45 minutes. And we just recently had a new surgeon that is doing the same thing. And it's fun to convince them that they can wait longer. And I get it, right? They've been using other cardioplegia solutions. You have to dose every 15 to 20 minutes. So it's in their routine. They're a little nervous maybe about making a change to something that lets them go long, 5 times longer than what they've been able to do in the past. And when we're not there yet with our newest surgeon who just started in January, but each of the surgeons that have come in that have used Del Nido or used a different cardioplegia solution, but still redosed it very frequently, have all transitioned over to letting us go the 2 hours, like I said, with the exception of the one new guy that we got so far.
Last question. So when you are redosing, are you using the same solution or using different solution? Redosing.
I'm not
Well,
following.
I was listening to Dr. Ganaydin from Turkey just last week, and they are doing some kind of studies right now to see, the redosing issue. And what he's saying, they switched to a different cardioplegia.
So we use Del Nido all through the entire case.
With the same concentrations and everything.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jim, Bill from Children's. Dr. Del Nido would be very happy that you're checking your magnesiums. He's very interested and he thinks it's quite an important piece of it. We check them on all of our cases, and the only ones we find that don't have a minimum magnesium are people who don't have cross clamps, right? So our glands,
Sure.
All right. So
Which we wouldn't give it for anyway.
right. So these are the patients. All of our patients with Del Nido usually fall right within range, and it works pretty well. And we've gone so far as now we're checking our magnesiums throughout the course, right? We're checking our magnesiums in our primes. We're checking and just seeing how things transition through our cases, and seeing where these changes are occurring and if there's any causality to need to add magnesium to anything. And we generally don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I'll use that when I try and get our surgeons to let us stop giving it. Any other questions? Anything online? Bueller? All right. Thank you.